Plaintiff Lindsay Neugebauer and her mother Jennifer say Lindsay and the defendant were roommates, but she claims he moved out after only 3 months because he wanted more from their relationship than she was willing to give. She's suing him today for unpaid rent. Defendant Nicholas Stagg says within a week of living with Lindsay, she became bossy and started nagging him about his drinking. Nicholas claims he moved out because Lindsay often brought unruly guests to their home, and he denies owing her for anything.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Okay, so me and Nick met about 3 years ago. We worked together. We still currently work together. We moved into the apartment. I was going to pay $640. He was going to pay $550. And then things changed. I feel like he wanted more out of us being roommates than I was willing to give. And as a result of that, he decided to move out 3 months into the 12-month lease.
He told you that was the reason?
No, he didn't tell me that was the reason, Your Honor. He made advances that I felt like were something that indicated he wanted more from me. Mm-hmm. And again, I wasn't willing to give that.
Yeah, that's a little vague. Let me get some background from you. Maybe you can give me a little more detail.
Okay. So basically, Your Honor, we moved in together on September of last year, 2020. Mm-hmm. And within I want to say a week, it was very apparent that it just wasn't going to work out as far as us living together. Basically, it just started off, she kind of came off as bossy to me. We would just come home from work. I would go to my room and just try to hang out by myself, have a couple of drinks, and she had a problem with that apparently. Give
me an example. What did she say to you?
She would just kind of berate me and just make it seem like I had issues with it when, let's be honest, I'm coming home from work.
Give me an example. I need details. Give me an example of what she said.
Just an example, I guess, would be just one time she wanted to confront me about to stop drinking. So I agreed and stuck to that.
Did. She said you need to stop drinking.
Yeah.
All right. And you agreed?
Yeah, I agreed and I stuck to it, but I just kept getting constant accusations of being drunk when
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Your Honor, that's a lie. Let me listen to him more. You wouldn't give me any detail on anything.
Sorry about that, Your Honor. That's a lie.
Any other problems?
Honestly, it's mainly to do with that, just constant bickering about stupid arguments, nothing in particular.
Arguing?
Right.
Okay, about nothing in particular.
It would be over the stupidest things. We work together, we live together, we spend a lot of time around each other.
Who decided to leave? You?
I did, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I couldn't take it anymore. And
so you broke the lease because you couldn't take it anymore? And you say what you couldn't take is various arguments. That's what I'm supposed to rule on? You broke the lease. She wants nearly $5,000, and she says it's because you wanted more than she was willing to give. So you wanted a relationship, and you say bickering about beer. Nothing in particular other than beer. So I don't know who to rule for. I'll go back to you.
Sorry, okay.
You want to help prove it?
Sure.
That he did something wrong?
So we can go into more depth or detail. Yes. Various arguments leading to him being very aggressive. It wasn't a couple of drinks he would have. It would be a fifth of alcohol when coming home from work, to the point of him throwing up every day. So yeah, I kind of was bothered by that. I mean, my mom would come over and visit. This is my mother also. She's a witness, Jennifer Sturgis.
I am.
And I mean, I'd have her over at least 4 or 5 times out of the week. And he would come out and just start cussing at me and just making, accusations while my mom was there. And so my mom got to the point where she
liar.
stopped.
You even admitted you changed. Go ahead. You even admitted you stopped. When you stop something because somebody's complaining about it, that's an admission that you were wrong and you wanted to change it. Go ahead.
It got to the point where my mother just quit coming over. I told her, I just said, it did get to a point where it was like we couldn't do this anymore. My mom said, tough. You signed a 12-month lease. You're stuck there for the next 12 months.
And it was the alcohol-based
It was.
environment that he had created, the alcohol hostile environment.
It was. Yeah. It was a mixture.
That's when the aggression would start. Would be when he would drink. And I was there when I witnessed him curse at her. And I like Nick as a person, but then the alcohol, when he would drink, it would just change his demeanor totally. And it wasn't just beer; it was hard alcohol.
Okay.
When he moved out, we found all kinds of stuff stashed.
Okay.
He would come out and just start cussing at me and just making, accusations while my mom was there. And so my mom got to the point where
You
she
liar.
stopped.
You even admitted you changed. Go ahead. You even admitted you stopped. When you stop something because somebody's complaining about it, that's an admission that you were wrong and you wanted to change it.
Defendant Nicholas Staggs is being sued by his former roommate, who claims Nicholas was an aggressive drunk.
And let's get some timelines again. September 20th, you all moved in?
Correct.
When did you start seeing the alcohol,
Couple
what you
weeks.
perceived as alcohol problem?
The following month.
Okay.
Following month. So very shortly after we moved
And you
in.
mentioned it to him shortly after that, no doubt?
Correct.
All right. And he said he stopped. That's what he says here. And he said he slowed down.
It never stopped. It got to actually, when we did talk about that, we just got off work. I said, can you wait till I get home so we can discuss this while you're sober? I came home and he was already drunk. So it was like, okay, we can't even have a conversation about it sober because you're already 4 or 5 drinks in to us talking about anything. My concern, I really thought, he had a problem. I was like, well, maybe we should talk about this. My concern was the well-being of both of us, not just myself, because, I obviously care about him. We do work together, so I don't want to make things awkward. But, it was very apparent then that there was a serious...
And what is your understanding of him abandoning the lease?
I felt like I said, that he...
Tell me exactly what happened, though. What did he say and what...
Basically, it was, he called me on the phone and just said, I wanted to let you know, I'm going ahead and move. I'm going to move out. And
When, do you remember the month?
It was November.
November
Early
of...
November of 2020.
So like a couple of months after moving in?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And did he said why? Why did he say
He didn't really give me a reason why. He just said that he thinks it's best that he moves out. And it was real cut and dry. It was maybe a 5-minute conversation over the phone, and that was it.
Okay. So now you can go back and tell me some of the other problems that were occurring during the tenancy. You mentioned that he was making unwarranted advances towards you.
Correct. So that happened again, intoxicated. Just be at home in casual advances, sitting on the couch or making comments about looking good, this and that. And I explained to Nick, we work together. I am your boss. When we're at work, I'm a manager there. So I said, I don't really think that that's a good idea. I don't want to mix pleasure and
What else did he
business.
do other than tell you look good?
Well, we'd sit on the couch and he would just, touch my shoulder or touch my arm. And I would just be like, okay.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
And that was pretty much it. Just the advances and the whole wanting to hang out all the time at home, wanting to watch movies together all the time.
Okay, but he never tried to date you. He never explicitly did anything.
He didn't have his own bed. So, we're a week into moving there and he kept making excuses about getting a bed and making arrangements to get his stuff set up in his room, but yet didn't want to do it and wanted to sleep in my bed. I had a problem with that.
And what did happen?
I told him you can sleep in my bed for the few days
But
or
you
whatever.
had a
That's
problem with
fine,
that.
but you need
I
to
thought
give
you
me
had a
stuff.
problem with it.
I do have a problem. I'm not saying with
why
me
did you
in my
let him?
bed because he didn't have any stuff.
So why are you complaining about it now?
Because I don't want a relationship with him. We're friends.
But you
We
let him
work
do
together.
it. And you didn't have to.
You're right, I didn't. You're right.
She was being nice.
Okay, so why turn me now?
I'm not.
She's not trying to be mean. She just feels that she's entitled to her.
I wasn't.
his part
She
of
knew
it.
that then.
Right, but there were
So you
already.
should have said, no, I'm not giving up my bed. What am I missing? Did you threaten or something?
No, I never
That's
made any
use her
threats.
bed
I never
because you
made.
didn't have your own?
No. No,
what
I
she
simply
said.
asked if I could stay in the bed because, yes, at the time I didn't have
All right,
one.
and where did you expect her to sleep?
I didn't expect her to sleep. I just simply asked.
You didn't expect her to go to sleep.
No, I didn't know if she was going to just if she was going to let me lay in bed with her platonically, or
Platonically, or
she could have
or
easily,
get out of her bed.
or she could have easily said no,
Get out
and
your
I could
bed
have
and let
gone to
me
my
have
room.
it. Or she could have did what?
She could have said no, and I could have gone to my room and just slept on the
Exactly
floor.
what happened. That's exactly what happened. So
Oh, I thought you said you let him use it.
a few days after we moved in, that he did get his bed. So I'm saying from 2-day
What
window.
do you mean by that's exactly what happened? What is it that? See, this is so vague. I need more specifics. So once again, how long did he sleep in your bed? Because
2
you
days.
just said that's exactly what he did, and so
2
you
days.
threw me off.
2 days. 2 days, and
Okay.
I told him you need to get your stuff. You need to make arrangements to get your stuff so you can be in your room and in your bed, and that's what happened.
But he slept in your bed until his things came.
Yes.
All right, and that's what's kind of throwing me off. That knowing, as you're acknowledging now, that was problematic. I don't know, you're too nice, but I guess you're not that nice because you now recognize that you shouldn't have done that, and that was problematic. But as you hear now, she's saying that that was one of the signals that you wanted to be with her. And even though you didn't overtly say anything you say, the implication is if you might want to send a signal to her that you want to sleep in the bed with her, just like you just said, platonic. I thought I could sleep in there platonically. No, you were trying to ease on in there. You were trying to ease. Did you ever hit on the woman?
No,
Never said anything? How about touching on her, rubbing on her?
not
While you're
anything
sitting
past
on the couch.
platonically.
Pardon?
Nothing past platonic friendship. Not my type.
That's a lie.
Did you touch on her?
Hugs, rubbing on the shoulder. Yes. She occasionally asked for a massage. I'd give her a massage.
No, that never happened. That's cute, though.
Okay. And you've given her a massage, don't
That
say.
never happened.
Only the time she asked.
Yeah. Hey, how many?
Once.
One massage.
That
Yeah.
never
Okay.
happened.
When you gave the impression it was more than one. I give her massages. Remember that?
Right.
Okay.
Poor wording.
So now I got the liar. You. It went from, I just touch her sometime. And I say, where did you touch her? When would you touch her? Then you change it to massages. That's like different than doing that. That was the motion you made. You say, yeah, I would just, not a massage. You want to sleep in the bed with her? What am I missing? Did you threaten or something?
No, I never
That's
made any
use her
threats. I
bed
never
because you
made.
didn't have your own?
No. No, I
she
simply
said.
asked if I could stay in the bed because, yes, at the time I didn't have.
All right, and where did you expect her to sleep?
I didn't expect her to sleep. I just simply asked.
You didn't expect her to go to sleep.
Defendant Nicholas Staggs is being sued by his former roommate, who claims Nicholas was an aggressive drunk.
You just move in with the woman, you want to sleep in the bed with her, and then you want to rub her down. Is that what happened or not? Didn't you rub her down?
No, not worded
I
like
thought the
that.
massage, when you massage, you don't do any
When
rubbing.
she asked to get, yes.
So you did rub her down.
Yeah, when asked.
That's a lie.
I'm going to stop this because this is becoming offensive to me, let alone other women and her, for you to sit here and say that you were touching on her because she asked for it. That's the essence of what you're saying. So how many nights did you all spend in the same bed together?
2.
2 nights in the same bed. All right. So it only took 2 nights for your things to come?
No,
your
after
bed
that
to
is
come?
when I made the arrangements to get my stuff, and it was probably the 3rd or 4th night my stuff actually came.
Okay, 3rd night, 3rd or 4th.
Yeah,
So what happened with the 3rd day?
slept on the floor in my room
Why?
because I didn't. We had agreed that we weren't going to do that anymore
Why?
because I didn't feel the need of using her stuff anymore.
It's only been 2 days.
Didn't feel the need to ask anymore.
Why did you feel the need to ask in the first place?
Because-
If the need on the 3rd day, which was the same condition, was there. Same need. What changed?
I don't know, Your Honor.
You don't know.
No.
Okay. All right. So how did the final straw? Tell me final straw that occurred? I think you said he just called you out of the
He
blue
just
one
called,
day?
called me out of the blue, said I'm moving out, didn't let me know. I mean, I actually, when he left his belongings, like he took what he wanted and left a big old mess in the bedroom. So going through, me and my mother went through and started throwing out bags of trash, just throwing out all this stuff because we had to get the room ready to be able to rent it out eventually. I came across a letter that he had typed up or wrote out to the management saying that he was giving us 30-day, which I never received a notice from him except for him calling me and telling me in that 5-minute conversation I'm moving out. I said, okay.
All right, you want to provide any more clarity as to why you broke the lease, other than we had issues here and there, or whatever it is, whatever the vague response was? Any specific defense to the claim that you broke the lease?
Your Honor, moving in together, Lindsay had told me basically she didn't have friends other than this small circle at work that we knew. Very quickly, I learned that that was a lie. The first person that I had come to our apartment that I met, within a few moments, they started fighting, and it ended up with him kicking in a window.
Your Honor, that's a lie. That only happened because Nick came running outside with the machete. So
Don't own
let's
a
get
machete.
more clarification
So,
on
I
that,
don't
Nick.
You tell me tell me the scene,
I
how it started. And
I
what
did have an
yeah.
ex-boyfriend of mine that did stop by. He and I the screen door was locked, so we kind of were arguing. I wasn't going to argue with him. I simply was going to shut the door when Nick came running out with a machete like he was going to fight him. And so when I shut the door between both of them, that's how the window got broken. But it wasn't directed as a result of being an attack on Nick. It was directed because Nick came running outside.
Did you come out to protect her?
No,
Came
I
out
didn't
with a
come out with a
machete.
machete.
So the woman lets you
this was
sleep.
out-
The woman lets you sleep in her bed next to her 2 or 3 nights straight. Nice enough to do all the other nice things. Let you give her massages. I mean, you all are so close. You give her massages. You sleep in the bed together. But yet, when she's under threat of fear, you don't even come to a rescue.
Not with the machete, no. I didn't come out with
You
the
didn't. I
machete.
said, did you come to
yes.
defend her?
Yes. I came to
Said
defend
no a
her
minute
and
ago.
my home.
Pardon?
I came to defend her and the home.
And what'd you say? What'd you do? How
I
did you
tried
do
to
it?
run
How
him
did you
off, and
defend
that's when he kicked in my window and ran down the street.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part. How did you defend her?
I tried to run him off. I just told him, get out of here. Just expletives. But
And he broke the window?
broke the window and ran off.
All right. And what did the police say?
Basically, they couldn't really do much.
Why?
Because they had his description and everything, but for some reason or another, they told us they couldn't do really anything about it.
Okay. What other incident caused you to problems did you have there?
This was probably the second friend I met and the last one I wanted to, because before I moved out, about a week before I moved out, got busted in a sting operation. That's when I realized if these are the two friends
Whose
that I've
friends
met.
her friend got arrested
Yeah.
and convicted
Yeah.
for drugs or what?
I didn't look up his exact charges, but I believe that was the main
You
thing. Of
believe.
the
So
sting
you don't really know.
That was the main charges on that whole sting.
How do you know him?
He was at the house multiple times.
How do you know he got set up or busted or sting?
Facebook has our town's police department posts.
Oh, and you looked up his name.
No, I have the police department on my Facebook, and it just popped up. Giant sting operation. I see his face.
You don't know
What's his
his,
name?
if you
What's
don't
his
know
name?
his
Alright.
name, how do you know that it would be a friend of mine if you don't know his name?
Yeah.
That's kind of vague.
So he said he saw his
That's a
face.
lie, Your
and he
Honor.
recognized the face. And what did you think would happen?
I thought this is the last friend of hers that I want to meet. I'm done with this.
So he wasn't in
It's too
jail,
much.
though. He was over to the house. He didn't even go to jail.
But we want to know who it was.
He went to jail.
He was at the house.
before,
with you.
Before all this happened, yes, he was.
After? Oh, well, he was gone when it all happened.
No. He went away to jail, and that's when I decided.
So
this
your
is it.
problem was gone. If he's gone to jail, you have no reason to move because the problem has been eliminated.
But how do I know she doesn't have more problems coming, Your Honor?
Oh, she might have more criminals coming to visit.
Yeah.
All right. Her friend got arrested
Yeah.
and convicted
Yeah.
for drugs or what?
I didn't look up his exact charges, but I believe that was the main
You
thing. of
believe.
the
So
sting
you don't really know.
Defendant Nicholas Staggs is being sued by his former roommate, who claims Nicholas was an aggressive drunk.
And what did you tell her when you moved?
I sent her a letter telling her that I had to break the lease and that it was in our best interest.
Okay, you have the letter? Anyone?
I
Yes.
have it. It's going to be page 3.
All right.
That was
Let's
well
see.
after he moved
I
out.
want to see about this dope man he was worried about. That's what I want to hear. I know you had to read. The dope man was over, and I'm really worried. As you know, I plan to vacate the apartment. You yourself have told me you wanted me out and end the lease early several times. He says yes because of alcoholism. You admit to have had an alcohol problem because you even promised to stop. I am ending the lease because I'm experiencing emotional distress. I feel unsafe there and have financial difficulty. Rather than causing me or you, and I have financial difficulty.
Yes.
Rather than causing me or you additional distress, I'm offering to pay the $250 termination early fee. Please let me know if you accept this. As far as your demand for payment, I kindly recommend, he was kind, he wasn't drunk that day. I kindly recommend you drop the demand. My agreement is with management. They can send a demand if they wish. Secondly, the rent is current and in good standing. But that might have been current and good standing then, but you abandoned the lease and threw her in the lurch, I'm sure. So, what did finances have to do with it?
Finances were just getting tight, and a lot of debt was coming on to me with other things, and just a mix of
That had something to do with your moving.
It's slight, but not
Slight.
exactly. Yeah, no, that was just on top of everything.
The bigger
that I
deal
dealing
was
with.
you didn't feel safe because the man who you had met, who was now in jail and unable to get to you, somehow you just thought he was going to get out early, or you get the reports, you didn't see how much time he got. All right, I'm not going to play any more games with you, sir. You abandoned the lease. I'm interpreting your abandonment as a result of financial difficulty, which is the typical reason that most people abandon leases. So I'm going to grant you your judgment. He broke the lease and has no legal defense to it. Judgment for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good luck in your finances.
I have nothing.
Plaintiff Stephen Rivers collects cars, and his cars are often used in films. Stephen claims he paid the defendant to restore his 1985 Mercedes-Benz, but he did a horrible job, so Stephen is suing to get his money back. Defendant Clifton Johnson says he tried to warn Stephen that the car was not prepped properly to paint, but Stephen insisted he do the work, so Clifton gave him what he wanted, and therefore he owes him nothing.
Start with you.
I have a number of cars that I collect, and one of the cars is a Mercedes 300 CD. And I use some of my
What
classic,
year?
1985. And I use some of my cars for filming. In Atlanta, there's a big film industry, so I take some of them for different shots. They are using the background and scenes.
Got it.
And one of the cars was looking a little bit tied, this Mercedes 300 CD, the 1985. So I went to have it restored. And I took it to a guy who I knew already, but he got cancer after he started the work, and so the work paused. And I am part of a Mercedes-Benz car club. And one of my friends, Terrell, is a member of that club. And I was asking him and other people, do they know anyone else who could take over the restoration of this car? And Terrell recommended the defendant, Mr. Johnson, as his high school friend who has a shop and restores cars. So I approached the defendant to see if he could restore the car. And he had a chance to look at the car, and we spoke, and we hit it off quite well at the beginning because Terrell's a really nice guy. He's got 5 of these Mercedes, so he said he had work done by the defendant previously on his car.
Why are you telling all Terrell's business? You don't know what he's been saying to people. His woman, his wife, his friends. Terrell was there. Terrell has a car. He's a member of the club. This man might have been lying to people.
He might have been
I want
lying.
people to know he has a restored car, an expensive restored car, and part of a club with rich guys. He might be telling his woman he's going to church those days. He might know she don't want him to be in a restored car business because it attract too many young, pretty girls.
Yes, I see that,
So
sir.
instead, he's saying, baby, I'm going to church tonight. Can I go? No, this is the men's fellowship. This is the men's ministry. And you in here telling her. He's in the club. We ride through. We go to the strip club. He's got 5 of them. And each time we go to a different strip club. Terrell, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop him from saying your name.
Plaintiff Stephen Rivers says he paid the defendant to restore his 1985 Mercedes-Benz. But the defendant did a horrible job. So Stephen wants his money back.
Go ahead.
So anyway, my friend was high school.
There you
Buddies
go,
with
my
him.
friend. Go ahead.
And so I trusted him, and he looked at the car, and we had a chance to speak and all the other things that we could possibly do. And I found him quite amicable because he was trying to do the right thing as he was getting his own business. And as we spoke about his business, we actually discussed me being able to help him to get his own warehouse, perhaps. I said, you find a property and I can help you with getting the place to go and paint, because I wanted to help him, set him up and do what we could do together. Because he's a nice guy, I think. So I gave him the car, and the car was already in pieces.
What was the agreement? How much?
The agreement was $5,000.
All right. Now let me allow him to give some background, and then we'll get back to the specifics of the transaction. Sir?
Yes, I'm Clifton Johnson. I own my own business, CJ Customs.
Okay.
And like I went to...
Got any of your buddies you want to snitch out?
Just the Terrell buddy.
Terrell too, huh? You on Terrell
Yeah,
too.
that's my classmate from Meridian, Mississippi, where we graduated from.
All right.
And Terrell, here goes Terrell again. He told me about Stephen had a Mercedes, and I quoted to Terrell at the time, in the facility that I was working in, I was subleasing it from another company. So I didn't have the manpower, and I'm pretty much a one-man show, and I don't do restorations at this particular time. And I made it kind of clear, but
Who'd you make it clear to? Terrell?
Terrell, yes, Terrell.
You need to make it clear to him.
Yeah, so
How you gonna tell Terrell? This man comes. You should have said to him, I don't really know what I'm doing.
well, I hadn't met him at the time. I'm still going through
Terrell.
the classmate. Yeah, before I actually seen the car or whatever. So we made time to meet up or whatever. And when we finally met up, I looked at the car and I said, it's kind of a big project. And I hired an outsourced guy who can do the body work, because like I said, I'm known for my painting. And if I got a restoration, I send it out somewhere, or
someone who does it.
Does the body work the way I want it done.
Mm-hmm.
So I hired a guy, and
experienced at it.
Very experienced at it.
Okay.
But I gave him part of the deposit, and 2 days later, the guy ran off with the...
Oh, please. You're going to get this man's car to a crackhead.
Hey.
He ran off with the money.
Yeah. The next day came with, new work clothes on. And then that second day, couldn't find him, won't answer his phone, won't answer me on Instagram messages. And so I was kind of stuck, and I was trying to find somebody else to do the work for me, but just kind of stuck. And I told him the same thing. I said, I'm kind of stuck. I'm trying to look for another guy.
Okay, let me allow him to pick up now.
Okay.
$5,000 down.
No, half. He gave me half of it. It was like $2,000.
Okay, the cost was $5,000, correct?
Correct.
All right, and then he farmed it out for repair because he didn't feel he had the experience, so I'm glad he at least did that. And then the guy he farmed it out to ran off with the money. I know you seeing, no doubt, that what you have to do with that. You gave the money to him. There was a contract with him. He didn't fulfill the contract, or he fulfilled it in a manner that it was flawed. And so you want it brought up to standard that you would expect, or you want your money back. But I'll let you tell me what's going on here, how you feel about it.
Actually, the guy who he farmed out to do the contract didn't do anything to the car, didn't touch it. And the car actually fell into worse repair because it was already stripped down to metal by the time it went to him. It was a back to metal restoration, not just painting again. It was stripped back down to metal or whatever it was.
Who stripped it?
My guy stripped it.
Got it.
And that's why it was brought to him. And that's why the price was reasonable, because all the thing was already disassembled and already.
Did you know when it was farmed out? Did you know prior to that he was going to farm it out to a person?
No.
Got it. Okay.
So what happened is that when they put it into a shed, it was outdoors. It had a covering over it, but it was exposed to the elements, or whatever the case may be. And so the car became more rusty when it was sitting there without any paint on it. So I explained to him, I said, we got to do something with the car. So if you can give me the money back, I'll take the car and I'll go back to my original situation. But unfortunately, he said, I don't have the cash to pay you, because I gave it to this guy. He ran off with it.
I gave it to a crackhead.
Plaintiff Stephen Rivers says he paid the defendant to restore his 1985 Mercedes-Benz. But the defendant did a horrible job. So Stephen wants his money back.
How long ago was that?
This began in 2018, sir.
Oh, 2018. Okay.
In 2018, sir.
He's probably run through that by now.
Yeah, he ran through that, and
so we went through 2019 with him waiting and trying to decide how to figure out to work with the car to give me my money back. If he can catch this guy on the run and get the money back to me, I said, okay, I don't drive the car every day.
Hold on, he didn't ask you to help catch you, did he?
He didn't ask me to help him, no.
He didn't ask you to help me catch this guy who ran off. Okay.
And so I waited patiently. In a minute, we were talking between our friend and talking to him again, back and forth. I travel for a living. So consequently, I'm out of the country 6 months out of the year. So it was all right for me to have him keep the car. And I thought it was in a good condition.
You want to tell us what you do for a living?
I'm a director. I'm a global director for educational organization.
Okay.
Yes, we run educational schools all around the world. And we offer the U.S. high school diploma. The whole U.S. curriculum is what we offer.
Okay.
And
you operate schools, physical structures with students and teachers.
Correct.
All right,
Yes.
Not just educational training for schools.
That's right.
Operation. How many around the world?
We have thousands of schools around the world.
Really?
And I'm the superintendent, if you like. That's my
Which?
job, if you like,
Of all of them?
all the schools.
Wow.
So
And
my
the
job is to
students do
travel.
well?
They do very well. Our schools are very well noted and very well respected.
How many do you have in the U.S.?
Well, we have a number of schools in the United States. Altogether, we're under a system that has more than 6,000 schools worldwide.
Okay.
Now, in the U.S., we have over 1,000 schools. But I travel, my area is Asia and my area is South America, and I travel back and forth to those countries quite frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knows I was out of the country quite a bit. So when I came back in, it was very important for me to get the work done and get things together with him. Anyway, we negotiated over a year or two that he was going to paint the car because he had my $2,000. And he said I would charge $1,000 labor to paint the car, and the other $1,000 will go towards the materials. So I said, that's fine. So when we came to that point, that juncture, for him to buy the paint, he said, I don't have any money to buy the paint. I don't have $1,000. I'm a bit short for $1,000. I said, okay, no problem. I'll pay for the extra $1,000, and later on, you can give me the money. Just get the car done, because the car is rusting away. I have photographs to show the car was rusting away.
What page?
The before photograph of the car is on page 26. That's when he first received it, November 19, 2018. You can see it's body in white, all silver.
On 26.
Page
Show
26.
me one. And what's another page?
And then page 27, you can see the evidence of what it looked like after it was with him until May 1st, 2019.
Prior to it being painted.
Yeah, so I gave it to him on page 26 is how I gave it to him.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you see the silver is shiny, and then you see on page 27, you see it's all rusty.
Okay. Sir, are you aware of the one that he's referring to as rusty? And can you describe to me or tell me what happened? What are your comments about these two pictures that I'm looking at?
All right. Yeah, the car was still at my shop. I outsourced the work, well, a worker.
Got that?
Quote unquote, the crackhead. Mm-hmm. So he, once it started rusting, I put it in a barn that's next to my shop, so I wouldn't just leave it in the straight element. I put a tarp over it, but when a car is bare metal, somehow that rust still gets to it. So when he came back, he said we work out another agreement. He hired a guy from his home state, New York, to come to my shop and do the work. So when the guy was there, he was just complaining, oh, I can't do this thing, just a bunch of gibberish. And the days he did come, he was more worried about drinking beer than doing a good job. So once we finally got into primer, it still needed some work, but he had to go back to New York. And then I told Stephen it needed more work.
That was your mistake. You knew he was from New York before you got started?
But they say the New York City slickers, that's what my mom calls them.
It's not entirely correct with the whole situation was he's saying.
Oh.
Is because we agreed that my guy from New York who's been working on our cars, my brother has cars as well, working on our cars for years. We've known him for over 25, 30 years. He's an old boy, he does good work. And he couldn't find anyone, and my cars were rusting away.
Yeah.
So I said to him, let him come down to the shop during shop hours. Now, shop hours are anytime from 8 o'clock in the morning until whenever.
Yeah.
And then he said in the end, he can't come during shop hours.
So what's the condition now of the car?
The condition now, the car is totally restored because I paid someone else, the same guy, to restore the whole car. I paid him again. Bought new materials. I had to pay labor again to restore the whole car.
So
again.
it has been restored.
It's been
And
restored.
you want your money back for what you gave him.
I want the $2,000 deposit I gave him back and the $1,095 I paid for materials from him.
Plaintiff Stephen Rivers says he paid the defendant to restore his 1985 Mercedes-Benz, but the defendant did a horrible job. So Stephen wants his money back.
And I'm looking at the rust, and what are you saying?
If you look at page 3 of my evidence, that's the car primed down after his New York guy came down. And that's me in the picture sanding what his body man did. The car got primed. He half did the body work and put it in gray primer. You prime a car before you paint it. And you have to sand the primer. So it still had a lot of imperfections. And then I went ahead and painted the car. He was so ready to get it painted. So if you look at evidence page 4 and 5, that's the paint job that I put on the car. But like I said, pictures always look good, but it had some small flaws. But then when he started picking the flaws, that's when he said, just give me all the money back.
Yeah, who caused the flaws? You were the repairman.
I tried to tell him it wasn't ready, but he wanted it painted.
No, Honor, that's
No. You have to go with your professional opinion. You can't go ahead because a client tells you to do something that in your professional opinion would be flawed.
Yeah.
Because you're the professional. That's as if someone said to me, a client, I'm a lawyer, I'm representing them, and they say, well, go ahead, judge, and file the affidavit from my buddy that says the dope was in his pocket and not in my pocket. And we were both sitting in the car. And I knew he had it in his pocket. You want me to put that in the affidavit, sir? Because that you are a known accomplice. And you know that he has the dope. I can't do that, sir. That's malpractice. I'm not going to. I can't say, okay, if you insist.
No. Your Honor, he was there with me while I was painting the car. And I was
say the reason you painted it quicker than you should have is because he wanted it so bad.
Yeah, I gave him what he wanted.
You didn't give me what I wanted. I'm sorry, you didn't give me what I wanted.
Against professional standards. And you are measured by professional standards. And you are admitting that you gave it back to him flawed because he rushed you. That's what you're saying. That's your defense today. And I'm looking at where it was left to rust and damage was worse than he brought it in. And it cost him $3,000. Give him his money back. $3,095. This is judgment. Have a good day.
Clifton, I think that you're a good guy. I think overall you have good intentions. But I think that you need to make sure that you're more precise with regards to what you can actually accomplish and what you can't. Because your talents are going to go to waste, otherwise you're going to find yourself back in a situation like this.
I put myself in a bad position with this car, knowing the people that I was dealing with couldn't do the job, and just trying to help a high school friend out with his friend. So just kind of went south, but like we're both men and professionals, so we just got to get past it and make it work.